Okay, guys, so this is my self-reflection time, and we're just working with this. I know, again, like I'm going to say this at every video, there's going to be a little bit of lag until I get my new computer because my streaming software uses a lot of CPU. But if there's lag or sometimes the audio goes in and out, I apologize, but we're doing our best here. So I just did a parable on consistency, and now I'm just kind of reflecting, on life and like deeper emotional implications of that. So, I think a lot of people, what they do is they put so much emphasis on the mental, and that's what I always thought is, well, if I'm a mental worker, if I'm good at school, if I'm good at that, then mentally, right, like that's the most important thing. But I really don't think it is anymore. I think the most important thing is emotional and consciousness based stuff. Basically, can you get yourself to do the right things, right, which is by applying your focus and making it happen, and so I guess where my mind is going here is this concept that I just kind of brought up on the parable, and I honestly do teach myself sometimes. Like, I'm impressed at the way I explain this to myself because I just discovered something for the first time, which really is that at first, for the first 24 years of my life, I'm almost 27 now, for the first 24 years of my life, I was totally obsessed with the quality of my work. And I was thinking, like, man, how school does that to us, right? It's like school doesn't make you think each thing is even and you just need to show up every day, right? Sure, you have to show up, but school makes you think only the tests are the most important and the grades are the most important. And I fell into that trap, and I always got really great grades, so I thought I was succeeding. Little did I know that then I would go to work, and in the real world where it didn't really matter, and like it was just like a newsflash to me, like, oh my gosh, like that wasn't the right way to live life. And so for the first 24 years of my life, I was so focused on the quality of my work. And then I started doing entrepreneurial things and selling coaching and stuff like that. And I thought, well, now, as of a couple years ago, it's not just the quality of my work, but apparently if I want to have an impact, I have to be able to create my own thing and sell it really well too, right? And so then I started taking all these sales courses and all these business courses and following all these entrepreneurs and podcasters. But then the funniest thing happened, right? Is I was in all these entrepreneurial groups, and I had my coaching, which was just insanely valuable for me. Like every coaching, therapy, anything like that I've ever paid for, right, has just paid off in exponential dividends, just ridiculous. But then I worked on all these sales things, and I even read a book on negotiation, which is a really cool book. You should read it just for fun. It's a fun read called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. He's like an FBI negotiator. He's kind of getting popular after writing this book. He's on talk shows and TV and stuff. And it's a really fun book, and it taught me all these negotiation things. And honestly, I never once succeeded at negotiating anything, right? And like, seriously, I read this book on negotiation, and so then I tried to negotiate at my work to get a raise. It didn't work. I tried to negotiate like at the AT&T store for an iPhone. It didn't work. One time I went to Belk and tried to negotiate on a pair of pants, and they said, well, we can give you a Belk credit card, so I got that. And then I was strapped with another credit card just to get a 20% discount on a pair of jeans. And so basically I just had this litany, like this just massive list of failed negotiations. And so I was really at this crossroads where I thought, well, I know that I just need to keep going. That's obvious. That's one thing. Again, I actually talked about this, I believe yesterday or the day before, on just get back up, resiliency, right? For me, I always see that if I give up, I'm like toast. I'm like going to be extraordinarily miserable for the rest of my life. So even if things aren't working, I never give up, because giving up like only makes things worse. That's obvious, right? Giving up is certain death, certain failure. And so I will never give up, even when things don't work easily. But I'm here, right? And I have incredible coaching products, and I'm using all the right sales tactics. And I'm like, well, what can I do to really get people to adopt my stuff or to learn more and grow more from my coaching? And even today, I just kind of had a breakthrough, which is, and I've been working on this the past few weeks, but just more and more consistency. The more consistent you are to the people in your life, right? To the people you care about and the people you want to have an effect with you, whether that's business customers or whether it's your family or your friends or your coworkers or whatever, the more consistent you are, that's how you break through and really create something, right? Consistency, not just that it shows up a lot, right? Sometimes I was thinking consistency means just showing up a lot and having a lot of stuff. That's not really what I mean. What I mean is exact down to the minute timing is so important. And so I just did a whole, reflection on that. So I don't want to repeat all that. But what I do want to say is that really is my goal right now in life. And I want to get, again, like I said in the beginning, into the emotional level of that. Okay? There was this huge, you always got to ask, if I'm not being consistent, if I'm not doing the thing that actually works, what the heck is wrong with me? That this thing obviously works and I'm not doing it. So for me, the thing that obviously works is consistency, right? Streaming on a daily basis, having my videos uploaded exactly the same time every day, eating the same thing, working out the same way so that I get the things I want, right? It's not hard. You got to understand it's not hard, All the time, people are like, I'll talk to people and they're like, well, I just can't get this thought out of my head or all this. But I always think, man, it shouldn't be hard. Like, life should be so easy. So why is it hard? What's going on? And there's this societal fatigue and this inertia and this negative momentum coming out of society that's doing it. And so what I realized is that both worrying about, letting go of worries about the quality of your thing and letting go of your ability to convince people to adopt something or, do what you want them to do and influence them, right? Letting go of worrying about those things is extraordinarily terrifying, and that's why I haven't been doing it, right? Because think about it. If you went through school, your whole self-worth was based on how well you could do at school, okay? And so if you let go of that, right, then what do you have, You open yourself up to attack, right? The thing in life is that most of the time, we're busy doing things that are really irrelevant, but we do them so that we have a less opportunity to get attacked by perceived attackers that usually aren't even real. But even if they are real, they can't do anything to us, right? So what that looked like for me is I would go to school and I would want to get an 100 on a test because I was so afraid that either I wouldn't get a job in the future or that somebody would say, why didn't you do better? Or the professor would be disappointed, or somebody else would be better than me and then I'd have to attack myself, all these reasons. And so I would study so hard. And sure, I also had the reason I liked getting good grades and I had fun doing it, but I had also all these negative reasons, okay? And so I'm reflecting on that and I'm thinking, man, it really was emotionally challenging, whereas I felt emotionally secure if I felt like I couldn't be attacked if I got perfect grades and was perfect. Here's the thing, though, is lately I've come to the conclusion that it's impossible for someone else to control my mind or my emotions. Only I ever control that. And so they couldn't possibly do that. And so then, why would I ever worry about it, right? Short of physically harming me, no one can do anything to me. And that's a big point I'm on right now. I'm very much on the 6 stones can break my bones train, where it's literally short of breaking my bones and hurting me. Nobody can stop me from doing anything, right? Nobody can stop me from streaming. Nobody can stop me from doing my thing, right? Nobody can stop me from continuing on the path I'm on. And so at the baseline, maybe that's important for you to realize, even if it's terrifying and you're not ready to take action yet, to start thinking to yourself, it really doesn't make any sense for anyone else to be able to affect my mind or my emotions at all. And so emotionally, that idea of worrying about quality, right, is very stressful, This is so funny, shout out to mom, but this is a good example of working on it, right? My biggest fan right now is my mom, and every time I do a video where my hair is a little messed up or my beard is long, she says, nice hair or nice beard. And that always irks me a little bit, because it's why do you feel the need to comment on my hair or my beard? Obviously, I'm doing my best out here. But the truth is, that doesn't need to irk me. It's whatever. It's just feedback. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's just so funny because if you focus on consistency, right, what I'm saying over here, then I know that instead of being perfect, I might show up with weird hair one day and someone's going to comment, nice hair, And I'm going to think, just leave my hair alone. I'm doing my best. It's COVID. I'm trying here, And so now I don't mind at all, right? And so that's it doesn't matter. But for the longest time, I was worried about people saying things like that. And obviously, that's a very tame example, I've made about 6 videos lately on racism in the U.S., and I don't really go with the flow as far as thinking goes, right? Usually the things I say about society tend to trigger both the liberals and the conservatives at the same time. Generally, I'm that person who, if the way I think, generally triggers and makes both sides of the political spectrum very angry at me because I really think both of them are full of crap. And so it's fascinating. And so that's something that, if I'm consistent about expressing my views and just in love and kindness and, no worries, I'm not trying to control anybody or have authority over them, but, it is scary to just express things consistently, right? To always have a voice. And so I've been speaking out on societal issues with topics that I don't hear anybody else saying. And so it's terrifying, right? But then you got a whole nother layer of terror, which is it's also just as irrational, but just as terrifying to give up, trying to convince people that you're right, Let's say I'm going to give up on over-stressing about being perfect, right? And I'm okay, I'm going to take this leap, and I'm going to do my coaching stuff, and I'm just going to show up every day. Then, what if a bunch of people just disagree with me, right? This is another terrifying thing. It's just terrifying as it is to work on, to give up stressing about quality and just show up. It's equally as stressful to just show up without stressing about whether you're going to convince people or not, Because I'll be transparent with you, just in my reflection time, I just openly admit this is kind of a journaling, video journaling time for me, is I'm always just totally petrified that nobody's ever going to get what I'm saying here. Like, I am in here and I have my notepads and I have all my self-improvement books, and these are all like right in front of me right now, so literally, like, every day I've got, let's rummage these out here. I've got all these books, right, just right on here, and I've got like all these notepads with these brilliant ideas that are just brilliant, and I've got, boom, on this random sheet I have lying out here, I have 7 deadly sins of social media strategy. So I'm coming up with all these brilliant things, right? But they don't seem to be catching on that fast, right? And so I'm just always thinking, man, like, what if nobody ever catches on? That's terrifying. And that's the second trap we fall into, that I used to fall into, is I was so worried about convincing people, I thought the number of people paying attention to me was actually correlated to, like, whether I was doing a good job promoting my ideas or not. And so I've been reflecting on this, right? And there's so many anxiety triggers in that. So maybe just look at yourself, and if you're here coming along with me, maybe think about what that trigger is for you. Whether it's more about the quality of your work and you're so afraid that if you have something of poor quality, someone's going to attack you, or whether it is the like ability to convince people. And if you can't convince people of your side, then you feel bad, like you're not doing your job, And I cried on camera a few days ago about this, that, I'm so scared that, like, the universe gave me a job to spread all these messages of joy and insight and, like, this whole new way of living that's so happy and amazing, and that, like, I'm going to mess it up and nobody's ever going to be convinced, right? And so now, I'm over worrying about whether I have good stuff to say. I'm 100% sure I have incredible stuff to say because I'm looking around and I can just see how good it is and I'm watching it change my own life. And then I got to the point where now I was sure, but I felt even worse, actually, over the past year. A lot of the times I felt even worse because then I thought, well, I know I've got great stuff to say, and still it seems like, it's hard to get people to sign up for coaching. Everybody seems to, like, almost want to sign up for coaching, and then they actually run the opposite direction and give up and never talk to me again. I mean, it's just astonishing, right? The number of people who come to me to have an emotional conversation and are really worried about their life and want to change, and then run the opposite direction is almost 100%. And so that terrifies me because, I mean, like, it's their choice. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't affect my ego. But the fact that almost 100% of people who come to me and have one really deep emotional conversation then never reach back out and never sign up for anything and never move forward, it's truly, like, triggering in the sense of, what if I'm doing something wrong? What if I'm not convincing them correctly? And so I'm like, man, that is really stressful. But I'm moving past that now, and it's so beautiful, right? And I'm into this place where now, instead of convincing, I'm all about consistency. And so you've heard me talk about this a lot on and off, which is that you want to have extraordinarily high standards in life. You want to have standards in life so high you can never meet them. And that sounds like one of these things where would you have such high expectations, blah, 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 right? And people always say high hopes, low expectations. And that's really dumb too, because just as an aside, if you have high hopes, okay, then what a hope is generally it means you wish for the laws of physics to not exist, right? Like, high hopes is like, I'm going to buy a lottery ticket and I hope I win. I'm just going to have a little hope. I don't expect to win, low expectations, but I have a high hope that, like, what if I won a lottery ticket, right? Like, anytime you wish for the laws of physics to not exist, you're breaking yourself up and you're destroying your ability to be human and reason. And so you never want to do that. And so you don't ever want to have any hopes. You don't need hopes. You simply do the best you can in each moment based on what you want, and then allow the, laws of physics to govern what happens, right? You don't have hopes. You don't need those. And so where I'm getting is this point where I no longer have hopes that my work is going to be the best work or something. I no longer have hopes that everyone's going to suddenly pay attention to my work. I don't have any of these hopes anymore. What I have is an extraordinarily high standard, okay? And let me tell you in real time how this works, because this is what I'm reflecting on in my life, and it's so freaking cool, right? So a high standard I have for my live streaming now is I can't expect even a single person, I don't predict that a single person will sign up for any of my stuff until I live stream on the dot, right, at exactly the times I say. Like today I was 7 minutes late, so immediately, doesn't count today, right? 7 minutes late. Unless I live stream on the dot at exactly the time I say, broadcast it exactly clearly, do it consistently over, 100 or 1,000 times, then I can expect a real result, right? Like, for example, if I gave up on these fears and I just said consistency is king, right? I talked about that in the parable earlier. Consistency is what gives you the ability to learn from me. Because if I just spew random crap out, even if it's a lot of good random crap, you're not going to know what to do. And so instead, that's why I'm vowing that everything's going to be published at noon noon Eastern now, every single day, 7 days a week. Things will be published at noon Eastern. I will live stream at the same times every day, right? 9:15, 9:30, 9:45, 10:15. Get it done, post it at noon, okay? I'm going to update the schedule. It's not updated yet, right? But I'm working on that. And so my standard for myself now is, well, I will never worry about the quality of my work, right? And it's not that I know my work is good. You don't have to know your work is good. You might say, Woody, well, what if my stuff isn't good? It doesn't matter, right? Just like in my parable of the produce truck that has to be consistent, the produce, if it's kind of crappy produce, but it's fresh and it gets there on time, people can still eat it and they can always come to the grocery knowing it's going to get there. If it's the best produce in the world and the cheapest and the most delicious, but it only arrives 2/3 of the time, nobody's going to come to that grocery because they never know if the produce is going to be there. So in the same way, I vow to be this produce truck for you that always shows up and has videos published on YouTube, Living Life with Woody Rini, and on Liberated Millionaire podcast every single day at 12 p.m. noon Eastern, okay? It's just happening. And I'm going to stream everything and regiment it so that it is exactly regimented at 9:15, 9:30, 9:45. See, I'm already running late here today. 10:15 is the workout, and then posting. And so what if I let go of all the worries about quality, regardless, and then what if I let go of any worries about whether it would convince anybody? This is also important, okay, is once I quit my day job, then I became so worried about convincing people that what I was doing was right, especially my wife. I would always be worried, man, I've got to earn fast. I've got to show her that what I'm doing is right. But the truth is, that doesn't work either. That you can't rush. Like, it's like gardening and trying to convince somebody that your seed's going to grow. Like, all you can do is wait for the seed to grow and show them, right? You don't have a debate over seeing if that seed is going to grow. And so I'm giving all that up, and then my standard is I will do that on exactly the same times, right? With exactly the same consistency, 7 days a week for 1,000 days. And after 1,000 days, I think that something good might start happening. And so you might say, Woody, that sounds insane. Like, that's crazy. Like, 1,000 days? But here's the beauty of that, right? Is that now I know, right? I know that every day I do this. I'm going to be done by noon making all the content. So then after that, what's going to happen is I'm going to have the whole day to improve stuff and make it better. And so for 1,000 days, every day, right? Today's like day 9 or something for me, or day 10 of live streaming my life, right? Over 990 more days, so many things will be improved. The overlays, right? The quality of the stream, the background is going to be all interesting and better. I'm going to get some fun big cutouts and stuff to put in the background to make it more interesting. I'm thinking of getting a magic character, like cardboard cutout on one side from Magic the Gathering, and maybe on the other side, I've got this 6-foot-tall inflatable iPhone blow-up doll, but I'm going to maybe like do something with that on one side, and so I'm going to have all these fun ideas, and the point is that every time, now I have nothing to worry about. I just know I'm going to meet my standards. And the beauty of that is that it becomes self-evident as you pursue extraordinarily challenging standards that you're going to be successful in the real world far before you meet the standard, Like, I don't have to be a genius to know that if I really do that for 1,000 days, I'll naturally get so much better that by the time, like, I'm getting close to that standard, I'll have already, seen such beautiful progress that I won't be worried, For example, in my physical life, in my workout, what I've been doing is working out really hard every other day. And I made a video, like, where I was reflecting yesterday, and I was just like, man, my legs are getting really toned. And honestly, it's so cool to watch my body chemistry change. The cool thing is, I am still not working out at the level that would meet the standards I have, right? I'm still not doing it quite as consistently. I'm not quite where I want to be, and yet I'm already seeing results. And so most people do the exact opposite. They have these high hopes, and they set really low standards, so they think that somehow magically they're going to get what they want, and then when they don't get it, they think something bad about themselves, and they go into this negative spiral. I'm doing the opposite. I'm actually setting these ridiculous standards, right? Ridiculous standards so that I've already won, okay? The reason I've already won is because, first of all, just by adhering to the ridiculous standards, right, I'm blowing 99% of the people out of the water. And so I know that in a comparative market, if I'm coaching up against 99 other coaches, my stuff's going to be better because nobody else is going to be as consistent, as fanatical as I am. And so I always think that life is pretty easy. If you just become fanatical about whatever you care about, you can just always succeed. And the average person is just not trying that hard, and you can just blow them out of the water. And then from a personal perspective, I'm going to start seeing the growth before I start having any expectations, right? I have no false hopes, and so I'm going to start seeing the growth before I see the expectations. And what that means, right, is you're going to have a bajillion million little tiny wins before you even get close to meeting your standard. And so then your life is going to be like, wow, I just keep setting these standards and I keep telling myself I'm not there yet, I'm not there yet, I'm not getting it yet. But really, life is amazing and everything keeps happening even though I haven't done it yet. Like, it's amazing. For example, right? I'm always looking for ways to get more engagement on my content. The coolest thing happened yesterday. I was working out and I just thought, well, maybe I could let people help me. What if I told them, please leave a keep it up in the comments, Keep it up if you want me to keep working out. Give me some encouragement. And 5 different people so far commented, keep it up on my workout video. Now that's a 500 to infinite % increase in engagement, because before I'd been getting about 1 comment per video and none on the workout videos. So I went from 0 to 5 comments. So that's like a thousands, millions, infinite % engagement increase. And so if you think about it, now I'm like, wow, I showed up consistently. And then because I showed up consistently, I thought of a better idea. And then I got noticed more. But it all happened because I showed up consistently and I wasn't stressed, Now, even when I'm podcasting and broadcasting to you guys, I don't actually look at the comments live because that encourages me to hope that someone will comment. Instead, I'm looking at a blank screen of a mountain background that's the generic, Mac OS Catalina background that it just shows me while I'm talking to you. So that way, I don't worry about who's watching when. I just know I'm showing up consistently. So anyway, that's my reflection for today. Is it's very scary, right? Because now think about it. If someone comes to me and says, I didn't think your topic was that good today, chances are if I broadcast 4 pieces of content every single day, there are going to be pieces that aren't as good as if I saved them all up and did 1 a week, right? So chances are people can come criticize or say, hey, that's not that good, right? And also I'm being totally honest and vulnerable. So chances are somebody can come say, hey, what you said about like society or what you said about politics or racism or anything controversial, they can be like, you're whack, man, you're crazy. And I'll just say like, well, that's okay. I'm just sharing so that if there's someone who agrees with me, we can both kind of go that direction together. But if people don't agree with me, that's also totally fine. I'm not really trying to convince them. I'm just here for the people who kind of are already like me, right? I think that's the best way to teach people is you generally just want to find people who are already like you and help them grow, because then if they're not like you, they can find somebody who's more like them and that person can help them grow, right? You always want the right fit, okay? So that's why I always tell pretty intense ideas, is because if the ideas aren't for you, that's no problem at all, right? There's probably a coach or someone out there who agrees more with you and you can follow their ideas. It's more important that they teach you how to be consistent with the ideas you do believe in, even if they're different than mine, right? That's how the world gets better. But anyway, right? So first of all, someone could tell me my stuff's all bad. Second of all, right? I could fail to convince somebody. People could say, I disagree, or I dare you to convince me, or whatever. And I have to not try to ever convince anybody of anything. And that's kind of scary too, right? To not be giving sales messages or trying to convince people or trick them or whatever, right? And so I have to let all that go just in order to stay consistent. And then if somebody comes to me, if my wife comes to me and says, hey, when are you going to start earning more in your coaching business? I have to say, hey, I'm not trying to convince people or sell to them, and I'm not trying to make anything that's too perfect or better. I'm just showing up every day because I know that that's what's actually going to work. And that's all I can ever say. And so it's terrifying to lay down all your defenses and do that. So that's my reflection for today. It's been a really fascinating journey, and I'm excited to keep going, and it's really beautiful. It's really, really beautiful, right? Because when you do it like this with these crazy high standards, then you start to realize, wow, it's hard to keep really high standards, but if I even get close, I'm going to have such massive success and happiness. So that's my reflection for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and we are going to move straight into an episode of the Liberated Millionaire podcast. I'll see you next time.